I think social TV is interesting because, the fact of the matter is a lot of TV is a very one-directional experience. And I think what social does to it is it puts a consumer interaction around the content. And I think from a brand perspective, that means you've got some contextual value now. I think the challenge is that how do you get feedback from that social audience, that crowdsourcing audience, talking about a brand, and how do you then optimize that experience back to them? So I think as the consumer, pivots towards social for everything, as a touch point, I think, TV is naturally going to go down that route as well. So we look at it from a video perspective, not really by a channel. If you look at it and say, I think video is very social, yeah, and conversations are around that kind of content all the time. I think social is going to be a very strong player. Social TV, I think, will grow more and more. Overall, I think some of the changes that will happen to brands is the fact that because you've got much more rich data coming back from the content that you're providing to the consumer, I think we're going to move to a much more agile environment. So I think you're right. I think the days of planning, optimizing budgets is going to slowly migrate into a more agile planning environment where I think you're going to put aside investments on brands, knowing off data points, and then be able to react to that data point a lot quicker on your media buy. So I think that's one thing. I think the other thing is, without a doubt, everybody talks about programmatic, but the more segmentation data you've got, the more that you can challenge your traditional media spends, which you're absolutely right. It's very difficult to predict right now what your consumers are going to be doing in 6 months' time, because there's so many different variations in terms of the data that affects their behaviors. So I think you'll see much more of a move towards Agile. To be in the moment right now, it's a platform play, it's a technology play, yeah, because you can't afford almost a human interaction because it's too slow. So I think that kind of ability to execute that, I think is going to be down to platforms. I think fundamentally to achieve it, it's a 75 to 80% platform play where you're creating content, producing content and distributing it through the same platform. So I think that's the challenge moving forward. I think to get there, I think it's a matter of test and learn. Maybe you'll optimize on one channel first, and then maybe look at how you can move that content onto other platforms. But the only way you can do it is by integrating all of the content platforms together. If you've got no integration, then it's very difficult to move that content into social or into broadcast or into traditional advertising. So I think that's the challenge coming.